My family kicked my 8-year-old daughter and me out during Christmas dinner. My sister smirked and said, "You should leave and never return." Mom didn't even look up from her plate, only adding, "Christmas is so much better without you." The betrayal stung, but I didn't cry, and I didn't beg. I looked at their smug, satisfied faces, pulled my sobbing little girl close, and calmly said, "Then you won't mind me doing this." Exactly 5 minutes after we stepped out into the freezing snow, my phone exploded with calls. They were on their knees, weeping and begging me to undo what I had just done. But the trap was already sprung, and their perfect holiday was about to turn into a financial nightmare. I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from so I can see how far my story has reached. My name is Sarah. I am 27 years old, and for the last 8 years, my entire world has revolved around protecting my daughter, Lily. Being a single mother hasn't been easy, especially while trying to build a career from scratch, but I always managed to keep our heads above water. My family, however, viewed my independence as an insult. My mother, Eleanor, and my older sister, Chloe, lived in a world built on vanity and wealth. Wealth that I had quietly spent the last 5 years safeguarding as the primary administrator for our family's real estate holdings and digital assets. Despite their constant coldness, I wanted Lily to have a magical Christmas, so we drove to my mother's sprawling estate. The moment we stepped through the door, the air felt suffocating. The house was beautifully decorated, smelling of pine and expensive roasting ham, but the atmosphere was hostile. Chloe stood by the grand fireplace, clutching a glass of wine, her eyes locking onto my faded coat with immediate scorn. "Oh, look who decided to grace us with their presence," she sneered, not even bothering to greet her niece. My mother walked out of the kitchen, adjusting her diamond necklace, her expression equally rigid. Throughout the appetizers, the passive-aggressive jabs kept coming, targeting everything from my job to the modest gifts I brought. I held my tongue and forced a smile for Lily's sake, completely unaware that my own family had spent weeks preparing a cruel trap to destroy us before dinner was even over. The tension finally exploded during the main course. As the silver platters were passed around, Chloe set her fork down with theatrical precision, leaning across the mahogany table with a wicked glint in her eyes. "Mom," Chloe began, her voice dripping with calculated malice, "don't you think it's time we discuss why Sarah is really here? I found the emails on the business server. She's trying to alter the trust protocols to siphon off our inheritance." My blood ran cold. It was a complete and utter fabrication. I opened my mouth to defend myself, but my mother slammed her hand onto the table, causing the crystal glasses to rattle. Eleanor's face was contorted in deep rage. "I knew it," she shouted, pointing a trembling finger at me. "You've always been a parasite, Sarah, coming here to leech off your sister's hard work." Lily shrank back in her chair, tears welling up in her 8-year-old eyes as she clutched her holiday napkin. "Mommy, what's happening?" she whimpered. Chloe stood up, crossing her arms with a smug, victorious smile. "What's happening is that you and your daughter are leaving," my sister barked. My mother nodded coldly, her voice dropping to a harsh, final whisper. "Get out of my house, Sarah. Christmas is so much better without you anyway." They stood over us, casting long, dark shadows, completely indifferent to the fact that they were throwing a mother and a terrified child out into a freezing winter night without a single shred of mercy. The heavy oak door slammed shut behind us, the deadbolt clicking into place with a chilling finality. Lily was sobbing, her small body trembling violently as the freezing winter air hit us. I quickly ushered her into the back seat of my car, wrapping her in a thick blanket and turning the heater on high. "It's okay, sweetie. Mommy's got you," I whispered, kissing her forehead until her breathing slowed. As I sat in the driver's seat staring at the warm, glowing windows of my mother's estate, the sorrow inside me suddenly hardened into pure, icy anger. They thought they had destroyed me. They thought they could strip away my dignity and cast us aside like trash. But Chloe and my mother had forgotten one critical detail. Their entire lavish lifestyle was built on a digital foundation that I had created and maintained. I pulled out my phone and opened the master administrator dashboard for the family's real estate network. Because they treated me like a glorified assistant, they never bothered to understand how the business worked. They didn't know that every corporate bank account, every smart lock security protocol, and every commercial property lease was tied directly to my personal developer profile. With a few swift taps, I initiated a full administrative rollback. I revoked their shared digital credentials, locked their corporate checking accounts, and hit the big red button labeled Deactivate. It took exactly 45 seconds. I put the car in drive and pulled out of the driveway, knowing the countdown had begun. Exactly 5 minutes passed before the digital avalanche struck Eleanor's estate. As I drove down the snow-covered main road, my phone began to vibrate violently against the dashboard. It was a barrage of incoming calls from Chloe, immediately followed by FaceTime alerts from my mother. In their arrogant rush to throw me out, they had completely forgotten that the smart home ecosystem governing the entire mansion was hard-coded into my administrator account. The moment I hit deactivate, the entire property entered a maximum security lockout mode. The heavy automated iron gates at the edge of the driveway slammed shut, trapping their luxury cars inside. Indoors, the digital thermostats instantly plunged to a freezing baseline, the smart lights shut off, and the high-end entertainment systems went entirely dead. But the physical lockdown was nothing compared to the financial devastation happening on their phones. Because the family real estate business operated under a strict automated compliance contract, my administrative withdrawal immediately flagged their corporate accounts for potential fraud. The master commercial bank account, the one funding Chloe's lifestyle and my mother's expensive tastes, was frozen solid by the bank's automated security algorithm. To make matters worse, a pre-programmed contract stipulation triggered a massive, automatic penalty withdrawal of $50,000 for breach of digital security protocol. Their beautiful, expensive holiday dinner was instantly plunged into absolute darkness, freezing cold, and sudden financial ruin. They were trapped inside a high-tech fortress of their own making, and the realization of what they had done was finally setting in. I pulled over into a brightly lit gas station parking lot and finally answered the phone. The speaker immediately exploded with the sound of pure, unadulterated chaos. Chloe was screaming so loud her voice was cracking, while my mother wept hysterically in the background. "Sarah, what did you do?" Chloe shrieked, her previous arrogance completely gone, replaced by wild panic. "The power went out, the smart locks are frozen shut, and the bank just sent an alert saying our corporate accounts are locked for fraud. Undo this right now." I leaned back in my seat, a wave of calm washing over me as I looked at Lily sleeping peacefully in the rearview mirror. "I didn't do anything illegal, Chloe," I said, my voice steady and ice cold. "You told me to leave and never return. Mom said Christmas is better without me. So, I complied. I simply removed my personal developer profile from your network. Since you both know so much about the business, I'm sure you can fix it yourselves." "Sarah, please," my mother cried out, grabbing the phone from Chloe. Her voice was trembling, stripping away decades of haughty pride. "We can't open the gates, the house is freezing, and the bank pulled $50,000 as a penalty. We are begging you. Just log back in and fix it. We can talk about the inheritance. We can fix everything. Just don't do this to your own family." "Family?" I asked, letting the word hang heavily in the freezing air. "You threw an 8-year-old child out into a blizzard on Christmas night because of a lie. You wanted a Christmas without me, Eleanor. Now you have exactly what you asked for." Over the next 2 weeks, the silence from my family was deafening. but beneath the surface, a legal storm was brewing. Chloe and my mother tried everything to fight back, launching a desperate legal retaliation through a high-priced corporate attorney. They claimed I had maliciously sabotaged their business and demanded that I immediately restore their digital access. However, because I had spent years meticulously documenting my work, their threats fell completely flat. My attorney easily proved that everything I did was entirely within my legal rights. I had simply unlinked my personal, uncompensated developer profile from a network they claimed to own. With their corporate accounts frozen and a $50,000 penalty on their record, their credit took a massive hit, forcing them to liquidate personal luxury assets just to keep the real estate business afloat. Meanwhile, I didn't waste a single moment looking back. Using the secure technical assets and independent consulting contracts I had rightfully established under my own name over the years, I officially severed all financial ties with Eleanor's estate. For the first time in my life, I was completely free from their toxic control. I used my earnings to secure a beautiful, sunlit apartment for Lily and me, transforming our lives from a constant struggle into a peaceful, prosperous new chapter. My family had spent years treating me like an expendable assistant, but by trying to destroy my dignity on Christmas night, they had accidentally handed me the perfect legal leverage to walk away with everything I needed to build a secure future for my daughter. 3 months later, the final payoff of their cruelty became painfully clear. Chloe and my mother simply couldn't manage the complex infrastructure without me. The real estate business fell into a downward spiral, forcing them to sell the sprawling family estate at a massive loss just to avoid total bankruptcy. Chloe had to give up her luxury lifestyle, and my mother was forced to downsize to a modest apartment, learning the hard way what it truly feels like to struggle. Meanwhile, Lily and I celebrated her 9th birthday in our beautiful new home, surrounded by genuine laughter, warmth, and real peace. Looking back at that freezing winter night, I realized their betrayal wasn't a tragedy. It was the ultimate wake-up call that forced me to reclaim my true power. Now, I'm curious about all of you who have listened to my journey today. What would you have done if you were standing in my shoes on that icy Christmas night? Would you have walked away cleanly, or would you have triggered the lockdown even sooner? Comment your thoughts below. And in the meantime, I am leaving 2 other incredible stories on the final screen right now. They are absolute channel favorites, and the twists inside them will definitely leave you completely speechless. Thank you so much for watching until the very end, and I will see you in the next story.